Hello, everybody, and welcome to Bright Founders Talk at Temi. Temi is an international software development company that designs, builds, and delivers software for sustainable businesses and promising startups. Welcome to our podcast, where we bring you the most inspiring stories of entrepreneurs and experts in the software development industry. And each week, we interview successful leaders who share their unique journeys and valuable insights. I'm your host, Barry, and today we're lucky enough to have a remarkable guest joining us, Amitai Erfanian, who is CTO at Practice AI. Hello, Amitai. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me. This is awesome.
Good. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Everything's good.
Good, perfect. So first of all, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to speak with us. We know you're very busy, but for those people who don't know you or your company, could you just tell us a bit about yourself and the company that you work at?
Sure. So I'm Amitai, obviously. I've been working in software for pretty much my whole life. I started programming when I was like 13, went to college for it and did some research, and now I'm here. We're at Practice AI. We're a company that makes software for law firms, specifically focused on AI, but not everything AI. So anything from the beginning to the end of your firm, all software. We're covering it.
AI, is that something that you've always been interested in?
Actually, no. I started out in software development with robotics. I was a robotics student, and I worked on competing. I was big and heavy into robotics, and then I branched off into software, and then branched off into AI in like 2019, 2020.
And what particularly drove you to be interested in robotics? What was it about that particularly that excited you?
This is actually a funny story. So my mom wanted me to get into something when I was like 11 or 10, and everybody goes and plays soccer, they play basketball or something. And my mom put me in this robotics after school program, and I hated it. I was like, I'm never going back to that ever again. And she said, no, 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 like stick with it maybe for like a week or like a little bit. She ends up tricking me, saying that we're going to get ice cream. We're not getting ice cream. We go to this robotics place. The owner of the place, who ended up being my mentor for the next like 8 years, and even today, he took me into a class, and the two of us worked on software, and I stayed there for like 4 hours, and then went there ever since. I just fell in love with the idea that I could make a machine do something. I could like create something instantaneously, and that
Your
started.
mum has proven that you can lead like a horse to water and then make it drink, and you're the perfect
Yeah,
example of that.
exactly.
Proving that is false. If you're talking a little bit about your journey, like what are your highlights? I mean, you've been very brief there, but what was it that caused you to end up in the situation that you are in now?
I started out programming. I was like I said, I started out this place. It's called Great Minds Robotics, and we worked there, and it was good for a year, and then the owner of the place came and told me that he's starting a robotics team, and I was like, okay, cool. I'd never done anything robotics. Knew nothing mechanical. I just knew everything software. And he's like, come and join it, like try out, see what happens. I tried out. Honestly, I have no idea if I did well or did horribly, but somehow I ended up on the team. It was a team of three, and our first year we made it to the World Championship in Vex Robotics. I was very excited about that. And the next year we went to go beat like the record we set the previous year. We placed ninth in the world at that competition. I was very, very excited about that.
Congratulations.
Um, Thank you. And then from there we went on to we kind of branched out of Vex because we aged out of that category we were in. And so we went and did some other competitions like World Robotics Olympiad, competed in there for several years, went to a few world championships, which actually allowed me to travel all over the place, which was really nice. Especially as a kid, it was really cool. And then I did some things on the side. I was always fiddling with apps. I made like an app version of Flappy Bird, but with my face on it, and I've like gave it to my friends to play around with. It was really funny. I ended up making a couple apps. One of them won an honorable mention at this congressional app challenge. I got to meet our congressman, which was really cool for our district. And he liked the app. The app would basically just allow you to. He probably hated the app secretly because it would allow you to like email, text, and all this stuff to your representative. So I would be able to text him or email him or something through this app. Probably gave him a lot more junk mail, but that's fine. He's kind of signed up for it. And then from there, I went off to college at WPI. Worked on a few research projects there, and then now I started up here. I first interned here and then started up here, but started up here.
So you mentioned that you had a mentor. Like generally, networking. How important is it to have like a strong network when you're in your particular field of business?
I think a strong network is important. It's not a bad thing to have a strong network, but honestly, the a close relationship with one person who's I've always heard that you want someone who's a peer, who's a close person. You want someone who's like a near peer, which is like 3 years ahead of you, who's like you're close with, and then someone who's like far ahead. Like we're talking like 20 years. And I was lucky to have had that. I had a friend in college who was a near peer, who works at Google, very close friend of mine. I have a like that peer who's way above me, and that's the mentor I've had for years. And then I have near peers. I have a couple other people in tech who are my age, and I think they're very important because your near peer tells you what you should look out for in 3 years. Your the person who's far ahead tells you what to plan for and like set out your goals, like your long-term goals. And the people in the same boat as you are helping you come up with ideas of how to get there because they're also trying to get there too. So, yeah, networking is very important, but specifically
So,
these three. Sorry.
so you work at Practice AI. That's okay. Practice AI. So what is it the company does?
So what we do is we make software tools for law firms. One of the tools we make is lawyers have to summarize a ton of documents. They have to read and sift through a ton of documents. I didn't like English when I was a kid. They probably don't like it now. But long story short, we just summarize all this stuff. And another thing we do is we take those summaries and then we point out things that might take them a couple passes through the data to find. We point it out instantly. So we give them like what is going to help them boost their case value, what's going to help, like what's going to take away from their case value. We point those out. We help also construct their entire demand letter. So when they actually go and send this case to an insurance company and say, "Hey, I want money back," we actually we facilitate that. We write the almost the first and second draft of that letter so that they can just tweak some things about it, send it out, and boom, you've got everything done. So that's what we do.
And when you're looking at the tech trends currently within your field and industry, like what is catching your attention, and what do you feel are like the driving factors behind their significance?
One of the big tech trends I've noticed is people's adaptation to AI. So there's obviously GPT, which like shocked the world and everything. But it's very generic, and I've started noticing there's now every single app you can think of, but very specialized, like ours with law. But there's other ones that will like scan my email inbox and based off of like a certain criteria, filter out junk. But it's smarter than just your normal junk filter. There's also this new thing Google dropped where you can now respond to emails using AI, and they trained that specifically on emails so that it sounds like a person talking and not like ChatGPT just wrote an email. So specialization of AI is really cool, and I've been really excited into it or excited about it because it saves time out of my life, so I don't have to write emails. Don't tell the rest of them I said that.
So, could you just tell us a little bit about your primary focal points, and if you can, like any ongoing projects or endeavors?
So yeah, one of the primary focal points I have is kind of running our development team. So we've got multiple dev teams on different products. One product that's supposed to come is our intake system, and we're working on that. It's a phone calling system that will call leads and qualify them, and hopefully have them sign retainers. I'm very excited about that one. But managing all of these projects that are run by different software leads, and getting them all to synergize because what this guy's doing over here has to connect with what this guy's doing over here, and they all kind of have to be on the same page. So my job is synergizing all of them and then talking with clients to pull in what is the next thing they need, what is the next need to fill.
Kind of just thinking about what you said there, like when you're coming up with these ideas, is it like a natural progression, or do you just have like a brainstorming session? Like how do you go with the idea of having nothing to having something?
That's a great question. So when we first started, Hamid, the CEO of the company, kind of came up with this grandiose idea of he wants to just automate a law firm. He's like, from beginning to end, I just want to make it AI. And I want like a law firm to just come there, click buttons, and then leave. And it kind of gave us a roadmap of what is our like dream in the sky. It's to help automate everything a law firm does. But then actually day to day, like how do the ideas come in? A lot of them honestly is talking to sales. Talking to sales is like the best thing you could do is not necessarily as like a developer, but as like a head of a development team. It's the best thing ever because sales knows all the things that your clients complain about, knows all the things that your clients say, oh, I wish it also did this, or this is awesome. I wish we could tweak it to do this, this, and this. And so by connecting with sales, I get a great idea of what the need is. And then the development team and I, or even people from marketing and sales, will come up with a brainstorming session and say, okay, these are like the next 20 ideas. How can we solve them? Some of them are like seemingly like an impossible challenge, but if you get enough people in the room with enough brains, we can come up with a solution.
Yeah, because I imagine when you talk to stakeholders, some of them probably have like maybe I say lofty ambitions, but some might say like unrealistic expectations. How do you kind of combat that? How do you decide, oh, this is actually a really good idea, and maybe we need to work on it because it will generate like good outcomes. And other times you might say, "Oh, that's just not going to work." Like, how do you decide which is which?
So one of the things I told myself, and this is something that I actually learned from a professor in college who I really admired, but it was to tell myself that never to allow myself to say the word impossible. And the reason for that is because the clients will come up with ideas that will seem impossible. At first, this demand writing system seemed impossible. In fact, there's a funny story where our like business manager or COO came up to me and she asked, like, "Amitai, is this idea like a dream?" And to be honest, I was like 70% confident that it wasn't a dream. But I said it wasn't a dream and we made it a reality. So it's come to like into my I've removed it from my vocabulary. I can't say impossible. It's not allowed. I could say it's very, very hard, but I can't say it's impossible. And the reason I do that is because it seems impossible. It seems very, very hard. But when you start breaking it down into smaller parts, those smaller parts are definitely possible. So even if the idea is like crazy complex, you can get one part of it done today, and then I can get the next part tomorrow. And we sort them out on complexity. We have like literally like a tracker that sorts out complexity, sorts out the impact it would have on our clients, and we kind of score that as a team. We go through the whole list and score it. And then after we score it, we basically add the two up and say which is the easiest to do that's the biggest impact, and we go down the list like that. And the impossible ones still get attention. They just get pumped out closer to the we actually front load those in our sprints, but we basically prioritize like this. So we spend the most time on those ones that are very, very hard. And then we get to the other ones because they're easier later.
And what makes your company stand out from the competition?
So honestly, we're an extremely agile team, and the voice of our clients is extremely heard. Like I said, when I said that I could talk to sales, I literally get up out of my seat and go and talk to the sales team like very often. And the purpose for that is because ultimately I'm not a lawyer, and like what do I know about what a lawyer wants in his firm? Nothing if it wasn't for the lawyers telling me what they wanted in their firm. So the biggest thing, and when I say we're agile, the biggest thing that we do is that our clients' voices are completely heard, and multiple updates in the system come directly from client requests. And that's huge for us. Obviously, I can tell you that like, we're crazy advanced. We have all this awesome AI. We do some crazy verification algorithms and all of that. And everybody's going to say that. And the truth is that everybody has very advanced AI. Everybody has very awesome people on their team, and we do have awesome people on our team. But the biggest standpoint is that we meet with everybody on the team from all different departments so that nothing's fallen through the cracks, and our clients' voices are at the like epicenter of everything we do, and that's huge for us.
And you mentioned there you're talking with your sales team, and you're not a lawyer yourself. Like, how do you keep up to date with the latest developments, and like especially considering like the rapid change of pace in the industry?
So that's another great question. Honestly, the best thing is to foster a good relationship with your clients, because in software, I think like way back when they made software and you'd get like a CD and you put that in the machine and it would like download them like software, and then that was it. That was the end of the like software's life, and that was all. Now it's completely different. Like everybody downloads it and there's updates you expect for the next like 75 years. Probably even longer, honestly. And the truth is that the people using your software evolve, and you have to understand that their requirements evolve, and that your as a result, your what you should do also evolves, and you have to realize they're completely complementary. That your clients are going to tell you which direction to go into. You just have to foster that relationship and be listen. And not just your clients, but even if you make relationships with people who've even left the platform, if that's ever happened, like you can foster a relationship with that person, any firm, anyone who would be a client, and kind of gain insight as to what are they facing that's a challenge. And this goes back to your question about a network. It's very important, but honestly, it's even more important to get people outside of what you do. Like I'd say the some of the strongest connections I have are in software development, but some of the strongest ones are firms that I talk to that are in the legal space, completely unrelated to software.
And when you were talking earlier, you were talking about your team and how you have a great team behind you. Like, how do you attract like-minded people, and what kind of qualities do you see essential in your recruits?
That's an amazing, amazing question. It's very difficult. Hiring, everybody talks about how difficult it is. And it is difficult. One of the things that I followed is this there's this other company called Next Jump, and their hiring process is incredibly in depth and awesome. They have a whole book about it that I've read that's amazing. And a lot of the key points in there I've taken out and kind of implemented, as best I could over here, given that it's a startup. But one of the biggest things is that you have to keep in mind the person that you are bringing on the team. If you hire what they call like brilliant jerks at Netflix, if you hire brilliant jerks, you will get a lot done in theory, but you will be miserable doing it. And as a result, your productivity is going to tank, your emotional state's going to tank. It's horrible. So you've got to hire people, honestly, even if they're not amazing software developers. I just want them to be extremely creative and out of the box thinkers. And the programming we can pull into it. We can pull a skill like that into it. But the biggest thing is, are you an out of the box thinker? Are you collaborative? Do you like working in a team setting? And if we can do that, then I'm sure we can solve any problems the clients are going to have. And the software we can even like I can program it if or I can help you get to where you want to program, or another person on a team can assist you in being able to take your programming to the next level. But I can't assist you in making you like, a likable person or collaborative or something like that. That's something you've got to want and you've got to have. And that's like the number one criteria.
So, Amitai, let's go out on a limb here and assume that you're not perfect and you've never done anything wrong in your life.
Of course,
Okay.
because that's never happened.
What what's been the most unexpected challenge to date?
One of the biggest challenges was definitely defeat. And it's not that it's unexpected, it's just that it's unexpected when it hits you. When I was on a robotics team, this was big because we were on a robotics team and we were doing awesome stuff, and we won every local competition and then every state competition and then the national competition. And we were like on a winning streak, and it wasn't that you couldn't imagine defeat happening. It's just that you didn't expect it. You were like, oh, I'm on this crazy winning streak, and like I'm gonna keep doing this, but you don't because everybody else is also really 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 good. And you're also not perfect. You make mistakes. Maybe one one time you might move the robot a certain way, and it died. But it wasn't a perfect system. And so when we failed, that challenge of failing, accepting that defeat, and coming back was very hard. It was not an easy thing. When we were at the state championship, we'd failed one round, and we tanked significantly. And I was devastated because last year we'd won that competition. This year we're on track to win, and we didn't. It was unexpected, and it was hard to deal with. And I remember my dad coming up to me because I was distraught. Went and like got a water. Was like, and my dad comes up to me and goes, "You can't just give up. Like you've worked on this thing forever. Like this is what you've come to. Even if you fail it, you've got next year. You've got the next competition. You didn't die today. Like you can still keep going." And that was the hardest thing to learn, was to rebound. And eventually over time, when you fail enough times, which everyone will, and I have, and you learn how to rebound and get to a success, because it doesn't matter if you failed 1,000 times to make a light bulb. You made a light bulb, and that's all that matters.
So you mentioned that your mentor has been inspirational to you in your journey. Are there any like books, podcasts, or like documentaries that have had like a significant impact on your thinking or personal development?
That's amazing. So there's a couple things. Walter Isaacson's biography on Steve Jobs was awesome. Not even because I think I'm Steve Jobs. I'm definitely not. I hope I'm. In a way, I hope, and I don't hope I'm not. Um, Steve Jobs is an awesome thinker, but yeah, no, that was an amazing book because it kind of let you peer in the mind of someone who was an absolute genius, but you realize he's not perfect. And when you're a kid, you grow up thinking, oh, like Steve Jobs is this awesome, amazing mentor. And that one kind of helped burst the bubble of, yeah, he's not perfect and no one is, and that he made mistakes and he'll probably never admit them, but you know, we all make mistakes and we learn from it. And that was huge. Another amazing, I guess it wasn't really a book and it wasn't really a like podcast or anything like that, but it was actually people in my life. And people take this so for granted. It's that your friends and everybody else around you are an amazing resource. And even if they're in completely unrelated like topics, like talking to them about the stuff you do at work, if you can, obviously, not like breaching any NDAs, but if you can, it's an amazing resource because they're not like, tunneled like you are in your field. They're not stuck thinking the way you are. And when you talk to them, they immediately will point out stuff like, why are you doing this like that? Like that's so dumb. And that's huge resource that I think almost everyone has access to, but no one takes advantage of. And it's huge. It's like a mastermind group. You have to take advantage of it. Think and Grow Rich actually taught me that mastermind group. I think that's like a book everybody talks about. I've obviously read it. Amazing book.
So those who don't know you may not realize that you have actually had international experience. Could you tell us a little bit about that and how you've leveraged that to drive innovation?
Yeah, so I did a study abroad, and it was an awesome project. We were working on a simulation of blunt force trauma. Basically, it was something centered around domestic violence and abuse. And basically, the whole point of this model was to show that when you hit someone, even if it looks like it didn't do anything, it actually does a lot of damage. Even if it didn't break a bone or like cause blood, there's a lot of damage underneath the skin that you don't see, and it's actually a bruise, but nobody realizes how bad that can actually
Hmm.
it actually ends up in. And the goal was to simulate the human thigh and show that when you hit it, like how drastic that hit is. And when we started working on it, we were working out in the United States, and I was like ordering things on Amazon, and they were coming in like a day or 24 hours, or sometimes they even ship in like 3 hours now. It's ridiculous. And I was so used to that. And then we went study abroad, and I couldn't order on Amazon in 2 days. I couldn't even order on Amazon in a week for some parts. And it got a little bit we got like a little bit blindsided by that as a team of four. And what we had to do was we had to become super innovative and figure out, okay, I don't have like this specific wire, but maybe I can do something with this like wire that I pulled out of this and put it in there and see if it works. Or if I don't have like a specific resistor, maybe I could take seven of these resistors, combine them and make what I needed. And so it forced us to become extremely ingenuitive. Duct tape was like a savior. But like you kind of just had to come up with stuff that you could make do with, even on the software level. Like we didn't have an amazing computer. We had like a small processor, and it had like almost no RAM. I think we had like a couple 100 kilobytes of RAM. Well, it sounds like no RAM, but people had to deal with a lot worse. But point is, it was almost no RAM to do this crazy simulation. And I was sitting there like, okay, well, we've got to go back to the days of like Pac-Man and come up with ways to conserve memory. And it was a very fun and ingenuitive process. And if you look at it as like, oh, this is a stupid barrier, and you're like mad and annoyed by it, it will forever stay a stupid barrier and you will never get over it. But if you view it as like a fun challenge, which is the way that our team kind of took it, you kind of surpass the nuisance that it might bring up, and it actually just becomes fun, collaborative, and a challenge that, oh, we're gonna go and do this and it's gonna be awesome.
Sounds like necessity is the mother of invention. Another
Absolutely.
one of my favorite ones there. Unfortunately, we are coming towards the end, Amata. I'm sorry to say that, but
Okay.
one last question just before you go. What advice would you give to any other aspiring entrepreneurs who might be listening to you right now?
The biggest thing is that A, the biggest thing is just persevere. You get into setbacks, you hit burnout, you think you don't have enough people in your network to do something. All those things, you just have to remember they're minor setbacks, and that you're gonna overcome that, and just to keep going at it. I mean, I can't tell you how many times we failed at different parts of this project, and now we have like hundreds of clients on there using it every day. So it's you got to take the setbacks, and like a boxer, you just got to swing with the punches, and eventually you'll get to something that'll work, and you'll be very proud to have it.
And for those people who are listening to you and thinking, "Wow, this sounds really exciting," how do they contact the company if they're interested? Where do they go?
So you can go to lawpractice.ai, LAWPRACTI, or practice CTICE.ai, and we're right there. So you can contact us from the webpage.
Lovely. We like shameless plugs on this channel. So, Amitai, thank you so much again for talking with me today. It's been an absolute pleasure. That was Amitai Erfanian, CTO at Practice AI.